Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Clue Crew podcast. We are here tonight to talk about the haunting of Castle Malloy. I have with me my faithful friends, Maddie.
Hello.
And Allison.
Hey.
And our special guest for the week, you may know her as Snack Shop Boss, Meegs.
Hello.
Yay! Super happy to have you here. Really excited to get to talk to you a little bit. I'm really sorry that I didn't get in touch with you sooner, by the way.
Oh, it's okay.
I was like, my brain has been everywhere this week. But, all right. So, Haunting of Castle Malloy. Probably the wackiest, weirdest, craziest, most eccentric game in the series.
For real. So true.
Like, arguably, I really do think a case could be made for this game in that regard. However, I am in the minority. This game is top 7 for me. I enjoy it so much. I love it. It's so stupid.
Same.
And I fully... Yay! Someone agrees with me!
I love it too.
Oh, thank God. I was so worried that I was going to get somebody on the podcast who hates this game, and I was going to be like, okay.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I fully acknowledge how stupid it is. I recognize its faults. But I don't know. I just, something about it. It's like a warm hug to me.
Yeah.
I will say, upon replay, it was not as bad as initially I had thought.
Okay.
This is one of those games I've only played like twice, which is very uncommon for me. So it was, well worth being replayed.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was the second time I'd played this game, so I really did not remember a lot about it going in. And I don't know, I really just feel like I had a strange fever dream and then have only now woken up from it. I think
fair.
I think there are some a lot of redeemable things about it and there are fun parts of it. For me, I'm not satisfied with the resolution of it at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's fair, especially Maddie, since I know that resolution is really important to you. I understand that from your perspective.
Yeah, well, so I don't know. I came in this time going for more a storyline perspective and not caring too much about the fact that there's not really a culprit. It's just even the whole thing with Fiona is why is she keeping this man in the basement? There are a lot of details that are just thrown at you and you're just supposed to accept them as truth, and I feel like I need a lot more information about what actually happened there.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, like I was describing earlier, I fully recognize how ridiculous it is, and I know that there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just something about it. I don't really mind, I guess. I don't know why I don't mind, but it is what it is, I guess.
It's your favorite puzzle blinders. It's like me with Saw.
Okay. I do want to talk about the puzzles in this game for a second, because I don't like the OtterBox, right? I just...
Mm-hmm.
What a nightmare. And there are a few others that are kind of to me. I don't really care for the sheep shearing just because I will pout anytime I'm expected to do math, even if it's simple addition. I'm still just gonna cross my arms and be like,
more math hate. It's fine.
I'm sorry, Maddie, but
I'm with you, Katie. I'm with you, Katie. I'm in your camp.
Fine.
Oh my God. Well, you know what, Maddie? At least we have nanograms. I still love them.
That's true. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. And I feel like there's another one in here in this game that I also don't like, but for the most part though, I actually enjoy all of the puzzles in this game. Certain elements of that really complicated one at the end to get into the roll top desk.
Mm-hmm.
There are parts of that I also just kind of go, ugh. You know, like because it's just such a lengthy thing. I think it's the airsats one that just takes forever.
I actually kind of enjoyed that one. It's very lengthy, but
Yeah.
it's straightforward enough that you get a sense of accomplishment while you're working through it, I felt like.
And yeah, I get that. I really do. I feel like for me, when I play games, I'm very much like a progression person. And so I don't like puzzles or like single screens that take me a long time because it prevents me from actively making progress. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but for me, really long stuff like that just feels kind of like a roadblock because I can't move on and get the desk open. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I definitely have kind of the reverse where I like having my big spreadsheet of paper out where I'm scribbling and like taking notes, and I feel like I'm detectiving away from the game. But I can see how that kind of takes you out of the experience of like playing and actually being in the moment as Nancy.
Yeah, because I think that's really what I enjoy in the games is I like to be immersed in it. And so when I have to take myself out of it to solve a complicated puzzle, I'm just like, come on, you're killing my vibe. But, you know, I mean, that's what's cool though, is getting to see it from different perspectives. And that's also why I think it's still fun that they include something for everybody. But yeah, so for the most part though, I really enjoy the puzzles in this game, especially the chemical puzzle. Please, my favorite thing.
I feel like we gotta address it. I did not hate it. Like I went in and I was like, I don't want to see any of Katie's hints about it because I wanted to go in blind and try and develop my own opinion on it. And like, I feel like I thought it was enjoyable. I don't love it, but I like it was a fun puzzle.
It is a fun puzzle. It's like kind of cathartic, I find.
Yeah, it's just kind of mindless a little bit. You're going through and you're doing like a claw grabber game.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't really understand the hatred.
I don't know, man. I still was not a fan.
I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like how the claw touches one thing, everything explodes, and then you have to start over, and I'm just like, hi. I always use a walkthrough, but whatever.
I will say the move for me was saving it, or well, I know the second chance already saves it, but instead of waiting for the explosion to play through and the good news, bad news scene to happen, I just would reopen my upload or the automatic save second chance. So that I didn't have to wait those 30 seconds, because I think I really would have hated it if I had to see that scene as many times as you would without doing that.
You know what? That's fair. That's a really good idea.
Because it automatically updates the second chance save file as soon as the explosion starts. So you can immediately hop back in without waiting for that. Because I really hated how you couldn't click through the good news, bad news, especially while it's typing, and like you get one that's really long.
Oh
no. Hello?
Yeah, you cut off for a second, but you're good. We're following.
Okay.
But yeah, you were saying that you don't really like how like some of the long messages, it takes so long.
Yeah, because you can't click. Like in the newer games, if you click it, it just like immediately gives you the words and the typing scene is cut out.
Yeah.
And I really didn't like that I had to wait for him in this one.
I know. There were only a couple games that did that. I think Phantom of Venice was the first one that had second chance screens. And so I think maybe like the first 2 or 3 after they started the good news, bad news, you couldn't skip it. So thankfully they let you skip it later, but yeah, it is definitely annoying that you can't do that in this game. I do, however, think that the actual good news, bad news messages themselves in this game were pretty quality, like compared to some of the later ones.
I can go either way on them. Sometimes I enjoy them, sometimes I don't. Just kind of depends.
Yeah, it does. What were y'all's favorite and least favorite puzzles?
I really enjoy I don't know if it's a puzzle or a mini game, but like looking for the different flowers. That has always been really, really fun to me. And I think it's because like it's pretty like mindless for the most part, and also it's fun because like you get to explore more and it's a lot more like just kind of like uncovering different parts of the property.
Mm-hmm.
And then my least favorite is the friggin' what's it called? The chemical puzzle.
Sorry, y'all, my phone is real glitching.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm assuming you said it was the chemical puzzle.
Yes.
And I had no response because I respect opinions in this house.
Sorry.
I don't...
It's fine.
I really like the dollhouse one. It's like,
yeah.
That one's fun. Although it sometimes gets harder, and sometimes I'm just like, I can't do this right now. And I really like walkthroughs because I'm a terrible person. But
no, girl, I feel you.
You're allowed to like walkthroughs. Your game experience should be whatever makes you happiest.
Yes.
And then the chemical puzzle, it's long, and it just sometimes frustrates me. I always get to it and I'm like, ugh, not again. That's probably my least favorite.
Fair. The dollhouse puzzle is really it's a really solid puzzle. I love all those logic puzzles.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the dollhouse is another one that I find kind of weirdly relaxing.
I kind of would agree. There's no really consequence. You can check it as many times as you want.
Yeah.
You feel kind of like you're there moving the dolls around.
Indeed. And it's, yeah, like you said, it's just very low pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just want to... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to put out a disclaimer for our listeners that for some reason Discord is giving us tons of connectivity issues tonight. So if you keep hearing people popping in and out, then that's why. Like right there. I don't know what's going on, but we're making it work for tonight. So anyway.
I was just gonna say, one of the things, like a minor irritation that kind of bothered me throughout the whole game, and it was really subtle, but it was enough that like it really impacted my gameplay, was that there's not a lot of commentary from Nancy in anything that you're doing in these puzzles.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yes. I can see that.
So like for instance with the seating chart, you don't get a that looks right, which is fine, except we've been like established that precedent of like Nancy tells you when you're done. So I spent way too long kept fiddling with it because I didn't think it was right and realized I just needed to go back to talk to it's not Matt, it's the other guy's name. Kit. I'm terrible at names. Yeah, like I needed to go back to talk to Kit. And the one that makes me physically angry is the gear puzzle, and Nancy doesn't tell me that I don't have all the gears in the beginning. And they just let you start working on it because I spent an hour trying to figure out the gear puzzle in the very beginning of the game.
No.
I would say that's actually my favorite puzzle. Like I really enjoy them and I find it really relaxing for some reason. Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
both times I've played it, I've spent way too long in the beginning trying to figure it out and then like driving myself crazy because I just feel like the games have established a precedent of when you're able to do things or not, and this it doesn't have that.
See, that's interesting. That's something I guess I just never really like tried to do that puzzle early on, or or like Nancy's lack of commentary didn't impact my gameplay at all. But now that you're talking about it, like I see exactly what you mean. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't blame you for being frustrated with that. Oh no. No. I'm just gonna type her name in chat every time she pops out because she doesn't seem to realize when it happens. I am so sorry. This podcast is a hot mess.
It's okay. Of course, it's when I'm here. I blame myself.
No.
It's
all Discord's fault.
Yeah, it's Discord's fault for sure. And possibly my internet.
I mean, we've had internet in before, and it's never been this bad.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it.
What was the last thing you heard?
I was saying how Nancy's lack of commentary hasn't impacted my gameplay, but that I see why you would be frustrated with it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's not really necessarily an issue. It's just a matter of if you're someone who's really in tune to how these games run and are used to what is an established precedent, it makes it really hard because you're like even unconsciously thinking or expecting things to prompt you in one way or another. And it's not necessarily wrong to have it or to not have it. I just think it's very off-putting because it's just randomly in this game that's in the middle of games on both ends that follow that established structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that. It's such an odd choice. Like, it does make me wonder why they even did that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they were trying to just make it harder, but I don't know. It's a bizarre choice.
It definitely is.
Like, I can kind of see at the end with the rocket, because they want you to put them all together, and then she comments at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even for me with the wire puzzle, I was expecting her to say something or not, if you had it or wrong.
I agree with the wire one. That one always kind of caught me off guard. Because I feel
I think it's... Go ahead.
Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But I feel like that's especially one that should have her confirm it because you just spent so long, like, staring at this screen. Like, I feel like you deserve some kind of confirmation when it's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, in particular, it bothers me a lot with this game because all of the puzzles are really intricate and complicated.
Yeah, which in and of itself could be a good thing, but with what we're talking about, like...
Mm-hmm. It just adds this extra layer, and you're just really unsure about everything.
Agreed.
But yes, on least favorite puzzle, the wire puzzle is now my enemy, and I don't want to look at it ever again.
Oh no.
Mr. Malloy, you need to clean up your wires. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, especially for a rocket. Like, poor design choice. 0 out of 10, don't recommend.
Right. Yeah, my least favorite puzzle is probably the OtterBox, just because I don't even know the last time that I got lucky playing this game and got it. Like, I never get lucky with the OtterBox. I always spend,
It does suck.
I always spend,
y'all.
like, 20 to 40 minutes on that puzzle, and I hate it so much.
So, OtterBox tangent. I did my internal assessment for math in high school was on these puzzles and how to solve them. And I wonder if part of it is from this game. But they're called scramble squares in real life. And there's like a whole methodology based on what I discovered when I was doing my research and probability of finding the correct solution in your first round. The best thing to do is to count the number of like available heads in one corner in each square and the available like bottoms, because the one with the lowest like match frequency, right? You want to start with like the middle piece is locked in, right? But one of those will only have 3 possible pieces that can go there. Because there are only 3 like bottoms that fit with that square. And so you want to go in the direction that has the least possible opportunities to make matches.
I actually did realize that on my last playthrough of this game, and it still did not help me solve it any faster. I was just like, are you kidding me?
Well, and then the other thing
I lose track of which ones I've already tried.
Yeah. That's the most frustrating thing, is because in real life, I feel like when you do these, you make notes on the pieces themselves on the back is like the most common way to do it. But the other thing to note too is because there are going to be so many combinations, you also know which ones have to face the edges that have to not be used.
Right.
And so that can also dictate the pieces that you choose.
Yeah.
I just find it really interesting. It's really a pain in the butt, though, if you get unlucky, because I distinctly remember spending a full day on this puzzle, and I had a whole methodology with, like, 7 different colors of sticky notes that I would move on the computer screen when I would move the square.
That's so great.
Yeah. Like, I think of that every time that post on Tumblr comes around, and they're like, back at it again with this puzzle, and there's, like, little pieces of tape all over their computer, and I'm like, yep.
Yep. So, let's start delving into the story in this game.
Yeah.
As somebody who fully stands Haunting of Castle Malloy. What the heck is this plot line?
Literally.
I love this game, but what is it trying to do?
I think that's my biggest turnoff with this game and why it doesn't have as much replay value in my eyes is because the plot is very strange and like nonsensical, and like I don't know, for me personally that doesn't outweigh the atmosphere, because I love atmosphere. I'm all for it, like a atmospheric game that's like, you know, gives you those vibes, but the story doesn't do it for me. And so the fact that it's so convoluted is majorly distracting.
And see, it's so weird because like 9 times out of 10, I'm exactly the same way as you. But it's like this game is an outlier and shouldn't be counted. Oh. I don't know what it is. The atmosphere and the music literally just hits so hard for me.
Me too. That's like why I love it so much.
Yeah, and it's like for some reason that portion of this game means so much to me. And just like the color scheme, if that makes sense. Like everything is just so gorgeous and amazing. And the fact that I don't really hate any of the puzzles except for the outer box is annoying, but it's early in the game, right? So you don't have to like dread it. I can just go and get it.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so it's like all of that is so good to me that it makes the weird nonsensical plot almost endearing rather than annoying. I don't know if that even makes sense. But
me about the plot is that it's like it can't decide on the genre that the game wants to be. Because you're right, the atmosphere is very Irish. And the music is super fun. But then there's this weird sci-fi plot happening. And then also historical fiction with the family.
Oh no.
Not mid-sentence. Oh, Maddie's struggling. It literally cut you off mid-sentence.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know why. I'm gonna at least try and like leave and come back real quick.
Okay. I was gonna say, I don't really see this as sci-fi at all.
Well, I don't know where I got cut off in my...
Okay, I heard that's very Irish. It gives you sci-fi vibes.
Yeah, and then it also has historical fiction, right? Because you have the whole World War I plot that's happening in the whole family history. And then you have the Irish fairies and all of that backstory and how the grounds are set up to follow Irish mythology and with Celtic runes. And then you have a family that is building a intense secret laboratory with special fuel designs, and the entire family runs around on jetpacks for funsies.
The entire family? You mean Fiona?
No! Did you not read the journal where it talks about how mom and dad both had jetpacks and they got little baby Fiona one for her birthday? And then it was mom's job to jetpack after her. Fiona went too far.
Oh.
What a weird family dynamic.
Not only that,
that image.
They also have like an invisible dog fence for their child on the jetpack where the jetpack crashes and turns off intentionally if she jetpacks too far.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Like, that's weird.
That's kind of effed up. Like, you'd rather her like drown.
Like, that's where I get the weird like sci-fi engineering bunker type vibes.
Yeah. I mean, I knew they're building the rocket, but I don't know. That doesn't scream sci-fi to me per se. But yeah, I definitely think the whole like underground science lab is the weirdest part of this game, and I think the game would have benefited without it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I feel like there's definitely another route that they could have gone with it. However, I do realize that without the science lab, I probably would not have the chemical puzzle, and that would make me sad.
I think for me, it's just how hard the game goes on Irish fairy tale mythology, and then to have this other, like, for me, those two worlds don't really mix, like, hard science and Celtic mythology. Like, they're on two totally opposite ends of the spectrum, and the game never confronts the fact that you're playing in both worlds.
I mean, yeah,
like, I think
it is a little jarring.
I think it would be one thing if that was a conversation, especially in the journal where they talk about members of the town thinking that there were some like fairies in the area and it has to do with a jetpack. But like, especially with kind of the culture and heritage side of Irish mythology, and that could be kind of an interesting thing of whether that was like pushback from the locals with kind of the science and the experimentation that was happening. But it, like, I don't know, it's just very bizarre, especially with Denal too. I don't know. It's they're just very, again, different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. This is one of the first games I played. And I think part of the reason why I like it is because the atmosphere is so much. But I remember being like so excited. I was like, oh, it's all about mythology and fairies because I'm super Irish and I love all that stuff.
Oh,
All of a sudden, it's like, hey, here's a rocket. Here's some jetpacks. Have fun. And I'm just like, let down.
Oh.
It's just, yeah, I love this game, but just the initial letdown of falling into little rocket basement place and realizing he wasn't actually kidnapped and he was just being stupid and fell. That was just a big letdown. I'm always let down a little bit, but I just like the rest of the game a lot.
It's just such a weird story choice. Like, I don't get it. Like, why not just let him, like, either let everybody have been right and he would literally is just that much of an asshole that he disappeared before his wedding, or I mean, like, I don't know. Why would the local bog hermit kidnap him and feed him?
That's what doesn't make sense.
Like, what's the motivation?
I think that's my biggest turnoff is like the fact that there was no bad guy in this game, and it doesn't really make sense. Like, it would have just been like, it could have been a really good, missing case, like in high stakes, and it could have been like especially with the dynamic of like Kyler and Matt and Kit. I think it could have been really cool to explore, like, well, maybe he left on his own accord, or maybe someone had something, like, maybe it's not just a missing persons, like maybe someone killed him. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot you could do with that. And then it was just like, nope, some like old hermit lady that has been a recluse had just swooping in on her jetpack and he fell through a hole.
Yeah. And she wouldn't help him out or speak to him in English, even though she keeps detailed notes in English and labels everything.
That's so true. I just assumed that she didn't know English, but yeah, you're right. Clearly does.
And she grew up with her family, and also the game just excuses all of her behavior as she grew up with an old hermit who lived in the area, which wasn't good for her mental health. And
oh no. Every time she gets really into it, she just disappears.
Discord's a jerk.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, okay, sorry. It did the weird, like, beep noise. Yeah, the game just offers this ending that the reason that she is the way she is because she grew up with this hermit man who was on the property, and that wasn't good for her mental health, which there are a whole slew of questions I have for that just as a whole, but the game just thinks that that's a good enough explanation for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so weird. Also, like, there would have been people who would have been on her property after the explosion happened that I think would have investigated the area. It's very weird that she somehow just ended up with this dude who didn't think to say anything or, like, help her get to a town or anything.
Yeah. Maybe he just wanted a daughter.
like that's, I don't know, that whole explanation is very concerning, like, as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's what happened to her. Messed her up, and you're like, well, I mean, I guess I can see from the fact that, like, she did have to witness the explosion that, like, killed her family, which would definitely not be great for your mental health. But at the same time, you did grow up with them for, like, a long enough portion of your life that you would think that, like, I don't know, that would have some impact on how you interact with other people.
Yeah, like we already know that she was at least 6 years old. And I mean, after you're 6, that's what, like kindergarten age? I mean, that's probably around the time that, especially being the daughter of a scientist, like you'd think she would be learning to read around age 6.
Yeah.
Or have already learned to read by age 6.
And I mean, there is the books like in her nursery too, which implies that.
Right.
And a cross stitch pattern, which maybe would have been something that she would have had to do given like the time.
Mm-hmm. So something that was brought up briefly is that Allison said something about the dynamic with Matt and Kyler and Kit and how that could have been explored more. And I'm like, yes, please. Yeah. I want all of the interpersonal drama that's going on here.
Same. Like, honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of the game is when you overhear them fighting, and I'm like, give me the tea. Like, I want to learn all about that whole backstory.
I know. And it's like, I feel like the fact that it's even there and hinted at also kind of adds to my affection for this game, because it's not often that you get like a campy group of like college buddies who have like romantic entanglements in history. And so I just feel like it's a fun dynamic that they got to include it all. But yeah, like I really wish that you could actually like interrogate them more about this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, really stir the pot. Especially since Matt and Kyler are like so terrible for each other. I'm like, can we please address this? Can we please?
Yes.
Matt as a person is just someone that I feel like you should not have in your life. Like, if you really have a friend that you're like, yeah, he's just gonna make everyone think that he's left his wife and haha, classic Matt. Like, better friend choices.
Seriously.
Yeah, he's the type of person that goes, it's just a prank, bro.
And so then, but even when you consider like, is Matt in the wrong for being this kind of person whose friends would literally accuse him of intentionally disappearing and upsetting his bride to be the like days before the wedding? Yes, he is in the wrong for that. But also you would consider the fact that he has this pranking personality and he likes to crack jokes and be dumb. And it's he likes to be dumb. But it's like Kyler calls him so many names in her dialogue and just like straight up insults him, and I'm like, okay,
they're so not good for each other. The entire time I was expecting like if we did find him that they would not end well, and the fact that they end up together, I'm like, really?
Yeah,
like come on.
Bad. Very bad. She's like, teasing me the lout. Once we're together, that'll be that. No more practical jokes ever.
Like, yeah, they just don't work well together.
Yeah, like, oh my god, why are you not questioning this a little bit? It's like really bad. Why do you even want to settle for that? I mean, oh my god. My fiance, like, if I genuinely thought that my fiance disappeared and stressed me out right before we were supposed to get married, are you kidding me? Like, and
for real,
just like, oh yeah, it's so annoying, but that's who he is, blah blah. And she excuses it. She's like, that's just how we are together. We fight all the time. Like, no.
Honestly, like even if like your dynamic was really jokey and like pranky and whatever, like that kind of move, like literally days before your wedding,
right,
would be so out of line. I would be like, no, we're good. We're done. We're good here.
Literally, for real.
Especially that's the thing that gets me every time they like anyone talks about his pranks is that it's always he likes to see how worried and like riled up he can get people, which is why I'm like, you're just not a good person, Matt.
Right.
Like, there's one thing like pranks of haha, that's confusing versus haha, I'm gonna make my bride panic, think I left her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my future wife be concerned for my well-being and think that I possibly am no longer in a relationship with her. Hilarious.
I mean, in his defense, he didn't actually do that.
Yeah. But if that's something in his character, like, come on.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's the fact that his best friend and his bride to be, like, literally assumed that this is something that he would do. Like, really?
That's the other thing that gets me too, is like, what kind of best friend are you for moving in on this girl that your best friend is still really hung up on?
Right? Why don't we ever address that?
And like, he's like, Kit's always gonna be my best friend, but I don't want him as my best man because I'm marrying the woman that he's in love with. Like, something needs to be resolved there.
Exactly.
Some kind of relationship counseling for both you and your friendship and y'all three together.
I know, it's so strange. Like, what is going on? Like, can you imagine if we had just been able to stir the pot a little bit? Like, really get into Kyler's head about, like, her and Kit versus her and Matt. And, like, I don't know. It just would have been really cool.
Kyler just seems so clueless about the whole thing.
Right?
Like, her personality boils down to, I'm going to marry Matt. And I think you're right. It would be so much more interesting if we could actually hear the details of her past relationship or whatnot. But, like, she's just so convinced and everyone is, like, chill and, like, this is cool. This makes sense. It's totally normal to invite this random stranger as my bridesmaid.
Who even is Kyler? Like, what is her personality?
She seems kind of like, I don't know, like detached. Like, I don't know. Like, she doesn't have too strong a personality, and she just kind of seems like she's almost her own world. And so I think it's interesting that, like, the wedding is so small. You know, the fact that, like, Matt is, her and her kind of have this, like, or not Matt, Kit and her have this weird dynamic. I don't know. There's just something very, like, detached about her.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, you know, she's all, thank you so much for coming. I have no friends, so I really appreciated the time that I spent with you. And then after that, she's just like, here, do a bunch of stuff for me to get ready for my wedding. And then she's like, what else is there? She just answers questions that Nancy asks and gives Nancy tasks to complete. Like, but who is she?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be seen as, like, pre-wedding denial.
Yeah.
That she's like, everything's gonna happen, and she just needs to read about her family history until then.
Yeah, it's
but
just weird.
But I agree, it would be so much more interesting if we could actually delve into those dynamics. And I also just think it would be interesting too to talk about, like, the Irish heritage portion of it as well, with Janal also, and those feelings, and whether or not there's any pressure in her family from this estate.
Yeah, like, there was so much there to work with.
Yeah, it's bizarre because it's like they had this whole intricate setup created, but then it's almost like they were like, how do we include the woman in the jetpack? And, and they didn't know how to merge them.
You know what? I feel that. Yeah. It's like, there's so much that I wish this game had focused on more and expanded on, and things that I wish that they hadn't included. I don't know. It could have just been so much better, but I don't know. I just enjoy playing it as it is.
And that's fair too.
I think it's like, when I look at it critically, it's clearly ridiculous. But the actual, like, in-game experience I find enjoyable.
Yeah, me too.
And so I think that's what the difference is. And that's actually why I don't hate Shattered Medallion either, because I think the actual game is kind of fun, even if it's, like, really bad on an objective level.
Me too, honestly.
Yeah.
I find all the games fun. There's really no game I hate besides Midnight in Salem, although I haven't finished it yet. That game, my city's, like, right next to Salem, and I'm just like,
That's so cool.
There's so many things. They're like, I wish Salem was more progressive. It's such a small town. Like Salem is literally like the most LGBTQ pride place on this part of Massachusetts. And I'm just like, do your research, Her Interactive. All right, I'm sorry. That was a rant. I have a lot to say about that game, and I haven't even finished it.
Yeah,
That's
feel free.
very fair.
That's completely okay. Yeah, I did think that was weird in Midnight in Salem, how they're all like, man, it's such a small town, people here suck.
It's
and I'm just
not.
like,
Oh my god.
Salem's a pretty like established like city.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the sheep in this game, just on principle.
The sheep are great in this game. They're so
them.
cute.
Purple pink mohawk. What is that?
Yes.
My personal
always feel
favorite is the
bad.
puffy one with bows.
I always feel bad when I mess up on the shearing game and I hear their little screams and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god, I know, it breaks my
I
heart.
hate that.
It literally breaks my heart. I'm like, no. I'm sorry, baby.
They're so adorable too when they hop up on the little platform. and they do their little jump.
Yeah. The happy sheep kill me.
I love my sheep.
Do, 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 do.
It's been on loop in my brain.
Right. So, just quickly wrapping back around to all the interpersonal drama and Matt and Kyler, they 100% did not even last a full year.
Who
Before
knows?
Their marriage fell apart. Right.
Here's my
Like-
thing. They're so like weirdly determined that marriage is right for them that like I can see them just like hating themselves and each other but staying together.
That's so true.
Yeah, I can see that.
And meanwhile Kit just gives up and maybe lives his own life and is the one that escapes. With
These
the
crazy
Irish
people.
lass he met at the wedding.
Honestly, I feel like Kit is way better than Matt and Kyler.
I love Kit.
He at least
Yeah.
seems sane.
Ugh.
Right.
And
like,
he has a personality.
and he's chill. Like he
Mhm.
seems
What were you gonna
very
say?
normal.
Meeks?
I literally wrote a alternate ending on the message boards where I was starting to make a romance between Kit and Nancy because I love Kit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I mean, he
Mhm.
is definitely underappreciated. He's not like
He is
one of my top favorite characters or anything, but he's a cool guy.
I feel like he gets picked on a lot in the fandom, and so I kind of went in thinking that vibe, but like a lot of the accusations thrown his way turn out to be unfounded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do people give him crap?
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of see it from where he keeps trying to talk his friend out of marrying this woman, but because he's in love with her, like that's problematic. But again, your all three's situation is problematic, so
True.
and also he probably shouldn't be marrying this lady.
Yeah, like Kid is honestly right.
But at the same time, his reasoning is very probably not for that reason. Although it's never proved one way or the other.
It's really not.
And like when you think that he is more suspicious and on the side, like you think he took the suitcases, and like you see those letters, or that he's trying to sell the land for real estate. That's another weird side plot, the real estate thing that happens.
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Really? I mean, I thought it was pretty self-explanatory and self-contained.
So I don't mean it in that sense, but like why would she be angry at him because he has no stake on this land anyway? And especially if you're trying to make him look guilty, it has no bearing on why he would have gotten rid of Matt. That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Narratively, with the whole story arc, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, so while I'm actively thinking about it, can I please just talk about the fact that the first time you talk to Kyler, you're like, have you been looking for Matt or whatever? And she's like, yes, we've looked everywhere. And then, like, 5 minutes later, you go into the nursery and you come back and you're like, I found these glasses in the fireplace. Did you look there? And she's like, no, why would we look in the fireplace?
Nice.
I'm like,
So you lie then.
What? Excuse me? And they were out in the open. You clearly didn't look for him at all.
No, she didn't care.
Also, everybody on that bog where they're like thinking you're gonna drown in the bog water, like, no, you can cross that. It's not that far. If a short, tiny plank is gonna be enough for Nancy to get across, you can like do a little jump over there, a little jig, see the cottage. Like, I just feel like the cottage would be visible if you're really searching the grounds that far, especially during the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the path that you have to take is so convoluted too. Like, you could make it so much simpler.
Oh, I do forget that it's buried in the forest with that. That was such a like small puzzle, I think, compared to the other ones that I entirely forgot.
Nice. Something else that drives me insane in this game, even though like I don't hate it as a concept, like, God, the fact that when you do the drumming at the pub, none of the drum beats hit at the right
hate that.
time.
Oh,
It
yeah.
drives me insane. Like, why would you not just literally program it so that the player has to hit the drum on beat? What is so difficult about that? Because
I don't know.
it's always just slightly off. And I hate it. I cannot stand it. Whenever I do that minigame, I always try to like do it as close to on beat as I possibly can, like without missing the window. It just it really bothers me more than it should. I just cannot. I really want. There's like 3 of the drinks that I really, really want to try.
I want the mint ice cream one.
Yes.
That one looks amazing.
The leprechaun's lunch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like a mint vanilla, like it's a bunch of milk and ice cream and mint. I know. That's always the one that I wanted as a kid.
I really
And
want
I
to
still
like
want
experiment and try to make recipes for them. I just feel like
Me
that'd be
too.
so much fun.
100%. Like, I really, really want to try the one that you're talking about, Maddie, the leprechaun's lunch. And then I also want to try the fairy drink, because that one's like strawberry and vanilla and soda water. And
Yes.
oh my god, it just sounds so good. And then there was another one that also sounded really good, but I'm trying to think of which one it was.
They all just sound so delicious.
I know.
Also, shout out to the pub owner who's just like, yeah, lass, come on, be a bartender, play the tune for us. Why not?
Right.
He's like, you got your food handler's card? She's like, no. It doesn't matter. Just get back on out here.
Good enough.
Oh, Green Isle is the other one that I think sounds really good. It's like pineapple, soda water, mint, and lime.
Ooh.
Anyway, I feel better now that I realized that.
You're good.
Okay, but Seamus explaining the drink making is one of those things that they're just, you need to be able to skip it. You really do.
Yes. He goes on a real long time. I will say though, he's so sweet when you make mistakes. Like,
yeah.
doesn't get angry at you. What a guy.
We stand. We stand.
Yeah. Honestly, the actual only one sane person.
Good for
Yes.
Seamus.
Yep.
Which, by the way, once again, Frank Hardy's voice actor.
What a dude.
What a dude.
You know, he's so good. He's so talented.
Okay, to circle back on, because now it's bothering me thinking about it. With Kit, I realize that probably the reason that a lot of people don't like him, and it's 100% supported, is that he's trying to pressure this woman to date him, potentially, even though she has repeatedly said, like, that she's not interested.
Yeah.
Although, again, I go back and forth because I don't necessarily see that he's actually saying that. I can see how people are like can read him as a character that's very much like friend zoned, nice guy TM with Kyler. But I will say, in his credit and in his defense, that I think a lot of that is it's hinted to make him look suspicious, and there is that letter where it's written about him like being in love with her, but he never actively pursues her.
That's a good point.
Like,
Because that
even
was my
when they
biggest
have
gripe with him.
like even when they have the argument and she accuses him of still being in love with her, doesn't he deny it?
I don't
Or
think
does
he
he-
outright denies it, but he also doesn't like push it either. Well, I think she says that, and then that's when the conversation ends. Or yeah, I think the conversation ends right after she says that.
Oh yeah, you can't hear it anymore. Right.
Yeah.
But they do have a continued conversation, and it goes like a much nicer conversation because they're not shouting at each other.
Sometimes I go back to their conversation to see if I can hear what they're talking about, and I swear one time they were just talking about cabbages or some random stuff, and I was just like,
yeah. They do. They talk about the most random stuff because I did that once.
Yeah.
And I like cranked the volume up and I just like stood there.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, Maddie. I mean, I feel like the only time that you really get the idea of like Kit pressuring, quote unquote, is just the fact that he tries to discourage them from getting married. But I mean, again, at the same time, I just feel like I can't really blame him.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's there's a double read on the situation on whether he's doing it because he's a horrible person or if he legitimately recognizes that this is a terrible relationship.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the problem is more that makes you lean more towards the first option is that he keeps saying that it's Matt that isn't ready for marriage yet, rather than Matt and Kyler are a bad fit for each other.
Right. And I mean, but also it's like, to me, I almost read it as like, and again, not that this is right, but it feels more to me almost like desperation than anything. I feel like it's still probably just kind of a really hard thing.
I don't know.
Not that it's necessarily the right thing to do, but I don't know.
If you really love somebody at that instance, you can't be that possessive and like do some like really horrible damaging things in that sense. But again, I do think that like it's all three of theirs fault.
It totally is. And I mean, again, like I'm not justifying the idea of like trying to discourage people from getting married, but
I think there's a nuanced conversation. I think this is why Kyler kind of is just so bland to me, because she doesn't seem to have a lot of agency in the drama.
Right.
She's just trying to chill and learn about her family history. Anyway, sorry y'all, I took us down a totally like left field rabbit hole.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I said, the interpersonal drama is like one of my favorite parts of this game, which is why I wish it was touched on a little more. Oh, speaking of Kit and all of the drama, so what is the truth with the black eye? Is it the one that Matt tells you at the end?
I don't know.
Everybody thinks that Kit punched him or whatever because they got into a fight. And then when Kit meets you, he's just like, yeah, I just walked into a door the other day. And then Matt says that they were spying on Denal and he got whacked in the eye with a bush or something like that. I don't know if they were spying on Denal, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
So,
they were trying to make fairies appear.
Right. Like, what's the truth?
I tend to be more inclined to believe Matt just because it's brought up randomly. Like there's no reason that he would need to be thinking that Nancy knows the black guy necessarily. But at the same time, it is possible that he's just trying to like come up. Like if you're someone who's really anxious about the fact that you punched your best friend in the eye, you could be like, I gotta slip this in there all sly and casual like, so that she will not be suspicious.
Yeah, I feel that's definitely where I've leaned to. Just because, like you said, it's kind of out of place in the larger conversation that's happening, and it's like the last version of the story you learn. So I feel like that kind of implies that they saved the truth for last, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's just a talking point that I wanted to bring up because I just thought it was a little odd how they don't actually confirm explicitly, I guess.
What do you all think?
I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting that they left it a little bit more ambiguous, or at least I think it's more ambiguous. I definitely don't think that he actually got a black eye by getting a bush smacked in his face. That seems like a cover story to me.
I get
Yeah,
that
it definitely is one of those fake. Anytime anyone tells you they got a black eye from a way that wasn't a punch, it's automatically suspicious.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
That's
especially
fair.
if it's a black eye. Like,
That was a tall ass bush.
mm-hmm.
And a heavy ass bush.
Yeah.
And it only thwacked you in a perfect circle.
Yeah. And this comes from someone that regularly accidentally hurts herself and has bruises all over her body. That doesn't happen.
Did you have any thoughts, Meeks?
I'm like super exhausted right now, so I'm sorry if I'm not responding.
Okay, that's okay.
No, you're good.
Good.
All of a sudden it just hit me. I'm just like, ooh, it's a long day. So
I feel that.
yeah.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but
All right, sorry.
no, that's fine. You have nothing
You're
to
good.
apologize for.
We just wanted to make sure if you had anything to say.
Yeah, like I just want to make sure you didn't feel left out or anything.
Oh no.
This has been a weird, disjointed.
Yeah.
I know.
This is like the strangest podcast ever. Most of it's not even going to be talking about Nancy Drew.
Oh, I
It's
know.
just
I'm
gonna
so
be
sorry.
Weird tech discussions.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Discord
you
really
guys.
played us today.
They did. They really did.
Well, the only thing
No.
I have left to complain about is that Kyler should really, should never go into wedding planning.
Right.
No.
Oh, totally.
Agreed.
First off, who are these people she's inviting? Like, what? First off, isn't like some of them are in jail. Like, isn't Lewis there? No.
Yeah.
How'd you meet him? How
Lori
did you befriend
Gerard
all
is
of
there.
these people? Yeah, exactly. Jane, why is Jane there? She's the only pen villain invited.
She's like, what, 15 at that point?
And terrifying.
Yeah. Scary child.
It's just a bizarre collection of people. You're in this decrepit castle that is not habitable. Like, you saw the cobwebs in the room that you put your husband to be in. You're like, this is, yeah, you can sleep here. No. You're printing the wedding invitations the day before. No one's showing up. It's you and
Literally.
It's
Right.
gonna be a wedding party of 5. Your only guest is gonna be Kit.
Are they Are they invites or are they programs? I thought they were programs.
Oh, that would make more sense.
Because
Yeah.
I just remember, I think it's a list of what is going down.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
for
ones
dinner?
that you print are the programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more acceptable. I'll allow it.
Okay, but speaking of the invitations, I want to know why on earth Kyler and Matt would choose the photo that they did to send out to people on their wedding invitations. Because Kyler would be looking elastic. And her eyes are like halfway closed. Like, it's
Oh my God, yeah.
bad.
Oh my gosh.
The other thing that gets me is that Matt is never wearing his glasses in any of the photographs. And I'm like,
Right.
you've made it abundant that he
Yeah.
doesn't use contacts and that he is blind.
Right. But yet, he never wears glasses. Like, what's the truth?
He's like, on the most important day of my life in our marriage, I would not like to see you
Oof.
during the vows.
Oof.
Although I guess if that's his only pair of glasses, it would make sense. But again. Also on the programs, who carved your metal plate for you? Who welded the specific plate that allowed you to do ink printing? If it wasn't welding, but it looks metal. If it wasn't welding, who got you a block of wood and carved the lettering in it so that the ink printing was gonna work? Because I have questions there too. Sorry. The impracticalities of this whole wedding just get me. Also, there's like one table. Is it the table like in half outside, half inside the castle that y'all were planning to sit at? If so, what if it rains? You're in Ireland.
Right?
What if it rains, period, while y'all are sleeping in this house?
I was thinking the exact thing.
Oh, anyway. Just don't go into wedding planning. That's all I really have to say there.
Agreed.
Yeah, not her best feature.
Yeah.
Does she have a best feature?
True.
Yeah.
She's just so boring. Like, what even?
No,
fair,
I agree.
She doesn't get a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random fun fact. This is the only game in the series that has Bess and George voices from 2 different generations.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's so true.
Because it sounded so off.
Yep, because this was after they hired Jennifer Pratt to be the new Bess, but before they hired Kiara Motley to do George.
It was really off-putting, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
I think it's because like their tones in their voices are so similar, like this Bess and this George.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
I thought it was cool though. Just like a cool fun fact that this is literally the only game in the series where it's not like
the pairs.
Right. Unless, I don't know if they did that early on though in the series. Like for the first few games. But yeah, the later George voice didn't kick in until the game after this and some of the 7 ships.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was very like off-putting.
Well, this game is like top 5 for me as far as music and the soundtrack.
Game. I love it so much.
Just so pretty.
Yeah, the atmosphere is really nice in this game, and another thing I like about it is like even though like this is like visually a much darker game, you know, like it takes place at night, there's a lot of like darker colors, it doesn't seem like hard to see. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like I feel like my one kind of like complaint with Ghost of Thornton Hall is it feels like it's just a very dark game to see. Like I feel like I can never see anything.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, but it's hard to see. Whereas this game doesn't suffer that. It doesn't suffer from that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's smart lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, wait! I haven't even talked about this, but speaking of the interpersonal drama, once again, clearly I have a favorite topic here. And how awful Matt and Kyler are for each other. What is with the loose end of her rewritten wedding vows on the park
Oh my
bench?
god.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, this is all wrong. And I'm just like, girl.
Like, it is all wrong. But, like, why can you not talk to her about it? See, that's the kind of thing. I'm just like, ah.
Okay, so are those her wedding vows? Because let me see. I had a photo of it somewhere.
I mean, it starts out with, like, I, Kyler, take you, Matt, to be
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she just kept, like, scratching stuff out and changing the words, and there's, like, 1,000 edits on it, and then at the end, she's just like, what am I doing? This is wrong. Like, clearly, you're doubting this marriage. So she does have doubts, so she's not completely blind.
I just don't really understand her motivation of why, like, she's so adamantly wanting to go through with it.
I know,
you know?
like, is she just that much in denial that she feels like, well, you know, he proposed to me, he wants to marry me, this is easy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, we need more information.
I know. You know what I feel like? Because her interactive, like, in video games in general, you have to record the voice lines before you can animate the characters. I'm wondering if they recorded all of Kyler's voice lines before they added those vowels into the game. And so the vowels were just kind of like an afterthought that somebody threw into the environment, but they didn't have any voice lines talking about it.
I low-key wonder about that and like a lot about this game. Like I wonder, especially was the cover art released way before as a design thing, which is why they felt they needed to have this woman there and explained. And then they decided to go a route with the character analysis instead for the plot. Because I know the trailers come out much for like early on, but I mean you would still be pretty along in the design at that point.
Right.
It's just there's so many weird choices that don't make sense on their own. It would be interesting if there were some behind the scenes things at play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you guys have anything else?
No, I think that about summarizes it for me. Like I said, I think there are a lot of fun parts of it, but a lot of it is just very strange. And one day I'd like to hear the backstory of Herman, who adopted Fiona and his hamster.
Herman the Hermit?
Yeah, Herman the Hermit.
Yeah, I would say this was a lot better coming back to it after a few years of not playing it. Or more than a few years, I should say. Several years.
Yeah, I agree. I think going in, kind of knowing where it's going to take you, you're a little bit more willing to accept everything.
It's so funny because when it first came out, this could possibly contribute to why I still enjoy this game as much as I do. But back when it first came out, like I played this game so many times. Like it's one of the ones that I've probably played like 8 to 10 times at least. So I went through a phase where I played it a lot. Oh, and I also like the slider puzzle at the beginning because I like slider puzzles.
I forgot about that one.
It's just good, simple, classic.
Just the like storyline we didn't really go over, and it's like hardly explored in the game itself, is just the whole thing, whether I forget what his name is. It's like Malloy, Brendan or Brandon, whatever his name is. Like whether he was a double agent for the Allies or for the Axis during World War II. This might just be me being a history major and loving history, but I always thought that was interesting, like how it's put in there and it explains the rocket, but not like really explained, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That it's kind of brought up and then kind of, and you know what else to like curtail off that is the note where it talks about how if they really knew what I was building, like the world might not be ready for my progress.
Right.
There's just so many things they bring up in this game that they like never explain. Which is true for a lot of advanced games, but this one, it's just sometimes kind of harder to theorize than other games. Like Ghost of Thornton, there's that whole Jackson theory, which I still believe in no matter what the game creators say.
Honestly,
but like who else? Oh my god, I'm just
We're here for it.
That's still like my favorite fan theory.
Me too.
It's so extra, but yet it's like, you know what? It makes sense.
It makes sense though.
So well developed.
Why else would Charlotte be so like into Jackson?
Right, like researching him.
Yeah.
Telling ya.
They just want to deny it, but it's the truth.
Yeah. This game, story-wise, definitely did not quite live up to what it should have. Or what it could have. I like the wackiness of it. I genuinely do. But there are a couple things that kind of felt out of place, like the bunker and like the sudden rocket thing that you're doing at the end. Like, and I do wish that they had explained more in depth, like why Fiona Malloy kidnapped Matt.
Yeah.
Why is she keeping him as a pet, like he says?
Yeah.
But then she's totally okay when Denal comes and like reintegrates her into society. Like it's just very glossed over at the end.
Right. You know, even if they had just did, like, maybe Matt looks like Brendan or something.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Yeah,
had
that was a great way.
a photograph, like an old, obviously, black and white photograph of the family, and maybe Nancy could be like, oh, wow, he looks a lot like Matt or something like that. And then that would at
just
least
such a
kind
choice.
of explain it, like why she would attach herself to this guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, why she's jetpacking around for fun. Her character is just very weird.
I know, like, why?
It
I feel
is.
like the concept could have been really cool with, like, the daughter of the scientist from back in the day was still alive and living out in a hut. Like, it's an exciting premise, but
And
they
it
just
could have
it's
been
so...
she was carrying on her parents after being like, old to understand it.
Oh, Maddie, you're like cutting out really bad.
Oh no. Hello.
Okay, that's
Okay, you
better.
can hear you.
Okay. I was saying I think it would also be really cool, for instance, if, you know, she lived over there, she refused to maybe abandon the area because that's where her her last connection to her parents, and then maybe as she grows older with like this hermit, they are potentially reading through her parents' material, and she's like maybe continuing the study where her parents left off, and that's why she wants to be isolated from the rest of the world because it needs to be conducted in secret, the research.
I'm here for it.
I just feel like she needed to be more of a person rather than kind of this shell.
Yeah, it's like she was a shell that just served a plot purpose.
Yeah.
That didn't even make sense. Like,
and I mean, maybe she did keep him down there because, you know, then it could make sense because she's worried that he's going to tell everyone that she's still alive, or maybe try and confiscate or gain access to something that her parents didn't want public. I don't know. I just, now that we've talked so much about all these plot things, I feel really strongly that this would be so much fun to rewrite.
yes.
Which I don't usually feel. Like, I usually am like, I'll accept it as is.
Right.
But
there's just
so many.
I think there's just a lot of potential in this game. Like, there's a lot of really weird story plots and a lot of things that are just like confusing or just strange. And I think there's a lot of things that you could do. There's a lot of potential with this game that could be really solid.
And as it is, I still love this game, as I've said so many times. Just because I like most of the puzzles, and I love the atmosphere and the coloring. I love that it's like that dark teal color everywhere. I love it. But it's so, like, I agree with you, Maddie, that this game would be like the perfect one to rewrite because you already have such a good atmosphere. You have great soundtrack. You already have like the setup for all of the drama between Matt and Kit and Kyler and all that. And it's like, oh my god, you could really do so much. I feel like as
it's almost like it just needs to be longer.
Yeah, it needs to be longer, change some of the details, add depth to some of the plot lines. Like, if you're gonna have Fiona out there, then, you know, fully, like, flesh it out. Don't just drop her into the middle of this and just because you wanted to explain away the quote-unquote banshee by having it just be a, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's another reason why Fiona exists, is because they just already had it in their head that they wanted to explore the Irish banshee. And so they were just like, we have to explain it. We got to explain it.
Woman on a jetpack.
Makes perfect sense. I see them every day.
Like, genius. Galaxy brain.
Yes.
It's like that meme set with people in the round table, and the one person's like, what if we just don't have that? And they're like, chucked out the window.
Yes.
Yeah, this game is now, as we're doing this replay, or the playthrough, I'm realizing which games I really want to do a rewrite of, and this is now one of them. Like, I've got 3 now, because ever since before it came out, I've been wanting to do a rewrite of Midnight in Salem. And then Message in a Haunted Mansion, I want to recreate because it's so good. Like, what's already there. And then now this one. They just have so much potential. Anyway, I feel like I've been like talking a lot.
No,
Same.
you're good.
I'm
You got
sorry,
some
y'all.
good stuff.
I know, I'm so sorry.
I'm here for it.
Anyone else have any last minute thoughts?
I don't think I do.
The awkward end sequence.
Always,
I
every
have-
time.
I have one last minute thought that I was kind of thinking of. We were talking about Fiona. I remember seeing this post on Tumblr. I honestly forget who posted it, unless it was on the message boards back in the day. I don't know. But it was saying that that scene in the end sequence where Fiona just like falls to her knees. I thought she was just sad that her pet was gone. But then this Tumblr post was like, she like spent her whole life knowing that the work on the rocket was her father's like biggest thing, and it might have been what killed him, and seeing it like actually work just kind of like knocked her down, and it was just like
Oh.
bad for her. And I just think about that a lot, that post, and it makes me really sad. Like I feel like Fiona's whole story is really confusing, but I just feel so bad for her
I know.
for like everything she went to, and I really wish that they had fleshed out her story more.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else makes me want to cry is in the lab, the drawings that she did of him.
Yeah.
And she was like, Daddy.
They're so precious.
Yeah.
So sweet. I never thought of it
Just
that
needs
way
a big hug.
either. I guess I always just assumed that she was just kind of in awe because it was such a big, like, colorful rocket, and she's never like seen anything like that in
Yeah.
action. But wow,
But
when
I
you
mean,
actually think about the
she
emotion-
would
Yeah.
have, right? Because that's the explosion that did kill her parents.
You're right.
Oh, that's
Well-
so sad.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what gets me about this game. All the stories are so interesting, and there's so much like
Yeah.
there's so many amazing little details that I feel like you could tell a whole game about any one of these kind of people,
Yeah.
right? Like a game about the whole dynamic of their friendship, but then also just one about Fiona on her own and their family.
Yeah.
Agreed. Maybe, yeah, I think maybe that's part of why this game falls a little short for most people too, is because they were almost like over ambitious because they had so many different elements that they tried to cram into one game, which I think is kind of like similar to what you were saying early on, Maddie,
Mm-hmm.
about how like it can't really make up its mind what it wants to do.
Yeah.
You also have Donald as a whole thing too. Like, why was he so integral to the castle?
Hmm.
And is he wrapped up in Fiona's story?
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Let's see. Yeah, it's been an hour and a half. I think we're good to go for the night. Well, it has been a great time.
Thank
Yes.
you all for chatting
Yes.
and for putting up with all of my Discord issues.
That's okay. Discord is just out to get us tonight. It's fine.
Discord, more like disaster.
I guess Discord is kind of the name for that, right?
Not true.
Oh my god, you're
No.
right.
Living up
We
to
love
its namesake.
synonyms.
Well, thank you,
Anyway.
Meegs. I'm sorry you were tired tonight, but it was really good getting to
No,
talk
it's
to you.
okay. You too.
Oop, hello? And then
Have a
to
good
top
night,
it all
y'all.
off, my
You too.
internet goes out right at the end.
A perfect conclusion, bringing it full circle.
Yes.
All right, well, anyway, thank you guys so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie, and good luck on this editing /
I know.
You know what? It's fine. The people can deal with our technical issues. Hopefully, there's some enjoyment throughout it anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, I hope that you guys have really good nights, and I'm glad I got to talk to all three of you.
Me too.
You too.
Same.
All right, awesome. Well, good night, you guys.
Night.
Bye.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.